I still remember the exact time on the microwave when I finally stopped knocking on their bedroom door. 2:17 a.m. I was 17 then, a few months away from graduating high school. We lived in a small 2-story house just outside of Columbus, Ohio. My parents, Daniel and Marissa, were the kind of people who looked good from the outside. My dad worked in insurance, my mom taught 3rd grade, and if you asked anyone in our neighborhood, they'd say we were a normal, happy family. We weren't. Not in the way that mattered. I was always the quiet one. Not shy exactly, just easy to overlook. My younger brother, Tyler, was the opposite. Loud, funny, good at sports, always the center of attention. My parents loved us both, I guess, but Tyler was the one they understood. The one they showed up for. I learned early on not to expect too much. Still, that night, I thought things would be different. It started around midnight. I was in my room trying to study for a chemistry test, but I couldn't focus. My phone kept buzzing on my desk. It was my friend Lily texting me over and over. "Are you awake? I need to talk. Please." Lily and I had been friends since middle school. She lived about 10 minutes away, and she wasn't the type to spam messages unless something was really wrong. When I finally picked up, she called me immediately. Her voice was shaky. I could hear her breathing too fast. "I don't know what to do," she kept saying. "He's here again." I knew exactly who she meant. Her ex-boyfriend, Marcus. They had broken up a few weeks earlier, but he hadn't taken it well. He'd been showing up at her house, texting nonstop, saying things that made my stomach turn. "Are your parents home?" I asked. "They're out of town." "I told you, remember? They're in Chicago." "Right, I had forgotten." "I think he's outside," she whispered. I heard something at the back door. My chest tightened. "Call the police," I said immediately. "I'm scared too." What if he leaves before they get here? What if I'm overreacting? "You're not overreacting," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "Lily, this isn't okay." There was a long pause, and then she said something that made everything worse. "I don't want to be alone." I looked at the time. 12:43 a.m. "I can come over," I said before I could second-guess it. "Really?" "Yeah, just lock your doors. Stay on the phone with me." She let out a shaky breath like she was trying not to cry. "Okay." I grabbed my hoodie and slipped on my shoes. That's when reality hit me. I needed a ride. I didn't have a car yet. My license test was scheduled for the following month, and my parents had made it clear they weren't in a rush to help me practice driving. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went downstairs and knocked on their bedroom door. At first, I knocked lightly. I didn't want to startle them. "Mom?" I called softly. "Dad?" No answer. I knocked again, a little louder this time. "Mom, I need help." I could hear the TV inside their room. They always fell asleep with it on. That meant they were in there. They just weren't responding. I knocked harder. "Please, it's important." Finally, I heard movement. The bed creaking, my mom's voice muffled and irritated. "What?" she called out. Relief flooded through me. "Can you drive me somewhere?" I said quickly. "Lily needs help. She's alone, and her ex is—" The door cracked open just enough for my dad to look out. His hair was messy, eyes half closed. "It's almost 1 a.m, he said flatly. "I know, but she's really scared. I think someone's outside her house. I don't feel right leaving her alone." He sighed like I had just asked him to do me a huge favor for no good reason. "Call the police," he said. I told her to, but she's freaking out. I want to go be with her." "That's not our problem," he replied. I felt something drop in my stomach. "Dad, please. It's 10 minutes away. I'll be quick." Behind him, my mom's voice cut in, sharper. "No, absolutely not. You're not going out at this hour." I stepped closer to the door. "She's alone," I said. "What if something happens?" My mom let out a frustrated breath. "Then her parents should have thought about that before leaving her by herself," she said. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, I'm asking you to help me. And I'm telling you no," she snapped. "Go back to bed." I just stood there for a second, hoping they'd change their minds, hoping something in my voice would make them understand. "Please," I said again, quieter this time. "I'm really worried." My dad shook his head and started to close the door. "You're being dramatic," he muttered, and then the door shut. Just like that. I stared at it for a few seconds. Like maybe it would open again. Like maybe they'd realize how serious this was. It didn't. I knocked again. Harder this time. "Dad!" Mom, please. No response. I kept knocking. I don't even know how long. A minute? 5 minutes? It felt longer. Please just drive me, I said, my voice cracking. I don't know what else to do. Nothing. Eventually, I stopped knocking. I stood there in the hallway, listening to the TV on the other side of the door, and something inside me just went quiet. I went back to my room and grabbed my phone. Lily was still on the line. Are you coming? She asked. I swallowed. I can't get a ride, I said. They won't take me. There was a pause. Oh, she said softly. Guilt hit me so hard it made my chest hurt. But I'm still here, I added quickly. Stay on the phone with me. Lock everything. Did you call the police? I will, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't want to do it alone. You're not alone, I said. I'm here. So I stayed on the phone with her. For the next hour, I listened as she walked around her house checking locks, whispering every time she heard a noise. At one point, she gasped and said she saw someone moving near the backyard fence. That's when she finally called the police. I stayed on the line until the officers arrived. I could hear them in the background asking her questions. Checking around the house, they didn't find Marcus, but they said there were footprints near the back door. That was enough. After that, Lily's voice started to steady a little. Thank you for staying, she said. Of course, I replied. But even as I said it, I felt this heavy, ugly feeling sitting in my chest, because I hadn't really been there. Not the way she needed. When I finally hung up, it was almost 2:30 a.m. I didn't go back downstairs. I didn't knock on their door again. I just sat on my bed, staring at nothing, replaying everything over and over, the way my dad had looked at me, the way my mom had sounded. You're being dramatic. Go back to bed. That's not our problem. I don't know why that hurt more than anything else. Maybe because, in that moment, I realized something I had been avoiding for years. If I really needed them, they wouldn't be there. The next morning, everything felt normal. Too normal. My mom was in the kitchen making coffee. My dad was reading the news on his tablet. Tyler was complaining about practice. No one mentioned the night before. I stood there for a second, waiting for one of them to say something. To ask why I had been up so late. To check if everything was okay. Nothing. I sat down and poured myself a bowl of cereal. After a few minutes, my mom glanced at me. You look tired, she said casually. I almost laughed. I was up late, I replied. Doing what? She asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, trying to see if there was any hint of awareness. Helping Lily, I said. Oh, she said, not sounding particularly interested. Is she okay? She had to call the police, I said. Someone was outside her house. That got a reaction. What? My dad said, looking up. Her ex, I explained. He's been showing up. My mom frowned. Well, that's scary, she said. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I replied. It was. There was a brief silence, and then my dad went back to his tablet. Good thing she called the police, he said. That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement of the fact that I had come to them for help and they had turned me away. I didn't bring it up. At the time, I told myself it wasn't worth it. That maybe they just didn't understand how serious it was. But something shifted after that. I stopped going to them for things. Not all at once. It was gradual. I stopped asking for rides unless it was absolutely necessary. I stopped telling them when something was bothering me. I stopped expecting them to show up. By the time I left for college the following year, our relationship felt distant. Not hostile, just empty. We still talked. We still did holidays. But it was all surface level. They didn't notice. Or if they did, they didn't say anything. Years passed. I graduated, got a job, moved into my own apartment. Life moved on the way it does. Lily and I stayed close. She eventually moved to another state, but we still talked regularly. That night became one of those things we didn't bring up often, but never really forgot. My relationship with my parents stayed the same. Polite, controlled, careful. Until last year, I was visiting them for Thanksgiving. It had been a while since I'd stayed overnight, but my mom had insisted. Your father misses you, she said on the phone. So I went. Dinner was fine. Tyler brought his girlfriend. Everyone laughed. It felt almost like one of those normal family moments. After we ate, my mom suggested we all sit in the living room and talk. At some point, the conversation shifted to family memories, the kind of nostalgic, slightly forced topic my mom loves. Remember when you used to come into our room in the middle of the night because you were scared? She said to Tyler, smiling. He laughed. I was like 8, he said. You were always so sensitive, she teased. Then she turned to me. You were the opposite, she said. So independent. You never needed us. I felt something tighten in my chest. That's not really true, I said. She tilted her head. What do you mean? I hesitated for a second. I hadn't planned on bringing it up. But suddenly, it was there, sitting right at the surface. There was a night, I said slowly, when I did need you. They both looked at me, confused. What night? My dad asked. I took a breath. When Lily's ex was outside her house, I said. I came to your room and asked for help. I begged you to drive me. For a second, neither of them said anything. Then my mom frowned. I don't remember that, she said. Of course she didn't. It was late, my dad added. We probably thought it wasn't safe for you to go out. I let out a small, humorless laugh. I wasn't asking to go out alone, I said. I was asking you to take me. My mom's expression shifted, defensive now. Well, we can't just drop everything every time you get worked up about something, she said. Worked up? I repeated. It was the middle of the night, she said. We had work in the morning. You were being emotional. Something in me snapped a little at that. She called the police, I said. There were footprints outside her door. My dad shrugged slightly, but nothing happened, he said. I stared at him. Yeah, I said quietly. Because she handled it. Alone. The white room felt different after that. Heavier. My mom crossed her arms. I think you're exaggerating. How serious it was, she said. I didn't respond right away. I just looked at them. At the people who were supposed to show up for me. Who didn't. Who still couldn't see it. I knocked on your door for 10 minutes, I said finally. I kept asking. I didn't know what else to do. Neither of them spoke. And you told me I was being dramatic, I added. My mom's face tightened. Well, she said, if that's how you remember it. That was it. No apology, no regret. Just dismissal. Something inside me went completely still. A few minutes later, my dad cleared his throat. If we did upset you, he said in that careful, detached tone, then I guess we're sorry. It didn't feel like an apology. It felt like something you say to make a conversation end. My mom nodded. Yes, she added. You should forgive us. We're your parents. That was the moment. Not the night itself. Not even the conversation. That line, you should forgive us. Like it was owed to them. Like what happened didn't matter. But my reaction did. I looked at them for a long time. There were 100 things I could have said. Things I had thought about for years without realizing it, but none of them felt worth it. So I didn't say anything. I just sat there. Silent. And for the first time, I think they actually noticed the distance, because my mom's expression shifted. Just slightly. Why aren't you saying anything? She asked. I met her eyes, then I looked away, and stayed silent.